Hello EFD squad and welcome back to the Euro Roundup where you pick our winners and losers from the weekend just past. Joining me, kitted out in emerald regalia.
Hi.
We know it makes his eyes pop. Not paying you the same compliment again. It's Patrick Van Straten, who was absent from Joe's Halloween party. Why is that? Absent. He was absent from the wedding. You were absent from the party. People are going to start to put two and two together.
I was invited,
think you're
though.
not actually friends.
I was invited though, crucially. We might not be friends after this. I texted him the next day to say sorry, and he was just like, "No worries, mate." But it took like 5 hours to send that, and I was like, "But."
Did you get the double blue tick of death?
I don't know. I didn't check. I don't care that much. But I went to a pre-party the previous night. I thought that this would prepare me, soften the ground up, be a good a good warm up for the next party.
Because a drunk Van Straten is actually a very jolly Van Straten.
Yeah, I'm much nicer when I'm drunk, even though I am the Oscar the Grouch to your Cookie Monster.
That is excellent. This has split
On
opinion.
brand.
Do you like this jumper? Let us know in the poll just above.
It's absorbent,
Anyway,
very absorbent.
you didn't make it ultimately because you got a little worse for wear, right?
Yeah, I got wrecked.
And talking of getting wrecked, who did PSV play?
Groningen, yeah. After a solid 2-2 midweek draw with Tottenham, PSV beat Groningen this weekend 2-1, meaning they've now won their first 10 league games.
Which is pretty crucial. That's
it's
why
quite
they
good.
made it.
It's quite good. That's why they're in, because
Yeah.
obviously normally we wouldn't cover the Eredivisie because it's a pointless league. But this season there are actually two good teams in it, not just Ajax doing well in the Champions League, but PSV who are tearing it up in domestic play. It's actually the 5th time in the Netherlands that a team has won its first 10 games of the season.
Only the 5th.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first time in like 20 years though.
I expect Ajax or
Ajax
PSV
don't-
to do
Ajax-
that every other year.
Ajax have done it like 3 times.
Yeah, okay.
But it hasn't happened in 20 years. And it's the first time for PSV, and their numbers are out of this world. They've scored 38 goals. So that's an average of 3.8 goals scored a game. Did that off the top of my head. That's the best attack in the league. They've also conceded just 4 in 10, which is the joint best defence with Ajax. Their goal difference is already at plus 34. Bearing in mind they finished last season with a goal difference of plus 48.
Wow.
Then they're going to hit that by about mid-November at this rate. And if they did continue at their current scoring rate, which is, you hope, impossible for the Eredivisie, because it would basically end the league, we'd expect them to end up with 129 scored, 14 conceded, which would be a good season, in my view. And yeah, it kind of looked, though, for a second like they were going to come back down to earth. They went a goal down in the 42nd minute of this game to a Mimicevic penalty. But that was actually the first time this season they've been behind. It's taken 852 minutes of play for them to go behind even once. Crazy.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of their forward triumvirate who brought them back into the game. It was actually 19-year-old Daniel Malen who joined from Arsenal's youth team in 2017. He equalised on the stroke of half-time with an assist from the impressive right-back Denzel Dumfries, who we are big fans of here, aren't we, and keeping a close eye on.
Netherlands win over Germany as well.
We
Good
suggest you do too. And then Dumfries got them the win with 5 minutes to go. Both goals were their scorers first in the league for PSV. So goals coming from multiple angles in PSV's ranks. Now, it wasn't a great attacking performance by PSV's lofty standards, though they had 19 shots, 5 coming on target. They're averaging about 8.4 a game so far this season, more than anyone else in Europe's top 5. So not hitting those heady heights, but doing enough ultimately, knocking on the door throughout this tie. Therefore, like I said, mostly down to an attacking 3. So that's Luc de Jong, who's the captain, I believe, who's been involved in 9 goals. That's 8 goals, 1 assist. Gaston Pereiro, who has been involved in 7 goals, 3 assists. And Herving Lozano's picking up where he left off last season with 8 goals and 3 assists so far. Now, interestingly, they also lead the league with 7 set-piece goals. Which makes sense because if you're on your current trajectory is 129 goals, you're pretty much scoring from everything you do, aren't you?
Sure.
They've finished top of the set-piece scoring charts, though, in 4 of the last 5 seasons and were second in the other one.
Yeah, so it does seem like they have an edge. This is a repeatable
they have a
thing.
formula. Maybe they've got a specific coach for it. Maybe other teams should be keeping a closer eye on their routines. Anyway, this win puts them 5 points clear of second-place Ajax, who essentially knocked Feyenoord out of the title race with a 3-0 drubbing on Sunday. Now, we are interested in the Eredivisie. Pat was only joking earlier. Eredivisie fans, can Ajax stop them? Or will De Ligt and De Jong just join Barcelona in January and make it even more pointless? Let us know in the comments below.
Our first losers of the week are Real Madrid. This comes from @Jose, whose name is followed by a sequence of numbers and letters I'm not going to repeat. What happened to Real Madrid?
Well, Real Madrid won't want to repeat this, will they, Van Straan? Hammered 5-1 by Barcelona at the Camp Nou in the first El Clásico without Messi or Ronaldo since December 2007. And the quality, particularly for Real Madrid, was missing as a result. You know that Barcelona have only lost 4 of the last 21 El Clásicos.
Jesus.
That is crazy. Rampant, dominant in the modern era. Anyway, it was a rampant first half performance. Barca went 2-0 up through Coutinho and a Suarez penalty that actually went to VAR. Took a little while to come to the decision, but it was the right decision nonetheless. Before Marcelo pulled one back after half-time, his third in 3 consecutive games for the first time ever. At this point, drop Isco, put Marcelo as 10.
I'd be up for that.
Anyway, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? But Barca pulled away in the final 15 with Suarez completing his hat-trick, the 25th hat-trick in El Clásico. And Vidal grabbed another to give Barca their biggest ever tally in the tie since 2010. Now, Real Madrid tried to press, and we've seen them be quite progressive on this front this season. They've been a bit more structured in the press. Their defence has been a little bit more organised on that front, let's say, but they were easily passed through in this fixture by Rakitic in particular, who completed 65 of his 69 passes. So they weren't the victim of misfortune here. They were well and truly done through the middle. There were 30 passes made in the build-up to Coutinho's goal, which resulted in Ramos just flailing for that kind of
behind the line.
Far post finish. Which
he was like a yard behind the line. I didn't really get it.
Which I absolutely lapped up. And yes, that was the most of any goal in El Clásico since 2005-2006. But Pato, like I said on Sunday Vibes, Luis Suarez, main man.
Yeah, he had a very good game. And excluding Lionel Messi, he's the first Barcelona player to score a hat-trick in El Clásico in La Liga since Romario back in 1994. Do you know who the one was before that?
No.
Lineker.
Yes.
Yeah, all 5 of Suarez's shots were from inside the box and 4 of them were on target, which really shows the quality that he had to work with in this game and the real lack of pressure from that Real Madrid defence. Despite the fact they were actually pressing pretty high, Bale and Isco committed 8 fouls between them, which is an awful lot, but they could have used a bit more tactical fouling in the midfield. Sergi Roberto was great, played right back in the first half, but then the introduction of Nelson Semedo saw him moved into midfield.
Let loose.
And Rafinha went to the bench. Yeah. He created 4 chances, which was a match high, twice as much as anybody else on the pitch, produced 2 assists, won the ball back 6 times and wasn't dribbled past once. Pretty damn good. However, as good a result as this is, and as good a result as they had against Sevilla recently, Barcelona do still have defensive problems.
Rode the luck in the second half.
Yeah, Real Madrid hit the post through Modric. They could have made it level before the hour. And when the expected goals numbers came out, it was 3.4 to Barca, 1.9 to Real, which is pretty much exactly the same as Real have produced in all their other games so far this season. So Barcelona weren't any more difficult for them to get chances against than a kind of league average side,
Benzema's
which isn't great.
Particularly gilt edge that.
Yeah, and you don't want to give up that many chances to this version of Madrid, especially seeing as they almost certainly can't get worse this season. Anyway, Barcelona are now 2 points clear at the top of the league. Real are all the way down in 9th. That seems like the sort of thing that Florentino Perez wouldn't like.
Oh, losing to Sevilla 3-0, losing El Clásico 5-1, not
good.
scoring in a bazillion minutes. How does Lopetegui survive this result?
He doesn't. He doesn't. He's going, and if Conte's available, he should go.
If Guillaume Balaguer is led to be believed, Conte is in fact the man. But who would you appoint at the helm of Real Madrid? Let us know in the comments below, because it kind of seems imminent, doesn't it? Next up is Bayern Munich. They finish off our winners, and that's a suggestion from Max543, which is just as well because we've been giving them a bit of a hard time in recent weeks. But Kovac turning it round yet again.
Yeah, won 2-1 away at Mainz, and that will take a bit of pressure off Kovac now they've won their last 3 games in all competitions. Bear in mind that in the previous 4 they'd drawn 2 and lost 2, so they were in desperate need of a good winning run.
They called it their month of misery.
Oh, really?
The German press.
That's a bit much, isn't it?
Dramatic, isn't it?
But anyway, all these 3 victories have been away from home as well, and they actually have the best away record in the Bundesliga, 1-4, drawn 0, lost 1. Right.
Sounds like it might have been an overreaction to their fortunes before.
They're probably going to win the league. It was actually Mainz's first home loss of the season that they suffered at the hands of the Bavarians, who are now just 2 points off top spot after Borussia Dortmund drew with Hertha Berlin, which we will actually touch upon later. Well worth their victory, as usual. 66% possession, hilarious. 23 shots to 6, 5 on target to 1. Basically the stats that Crystal Palace put up against Arsenal, and hit the woodwork twice. So pretty dominant performance. Gonna win the league. Bundesliga's back to being boring again. Hooray!
Woo! But one player who is never boring is Thiago Alcantara, who scored the winner, and it was his first goal of the season. It would have been a brace as well had it not been for VAR, which is kind of just like saying he would have had a brace if one of his goals was legal.
Yeah, that's like if you smash one like wide, you're like, he would have had a brace if that had gone in. No, it's not a thing.
But it capped off a standout performance for the Spaniard. Only Nicolas Sula and Jerome Boateng at centre-half managed more completed passes than his 69 and more touches than his 91. He also completed 2 take-ons, won 2 aerial duels and made 3 tackles as well. Exceptionally well-rounded performance. But one man who had no luck in front of goal was Lewandowski. His fortunes a little bit hit and miss at the start of this campaign, and that's only because he's very, very consistent normally, isn't he? But none of his 5 shots were on target, so somewhat wasteful. Other than that, he had a fine game, making 4 key passes and doing pretty well to set up Thiago's winner. Now, Bayern host Freiburg next on Saturday before travelling to Dortmund, which could really sound out whether they have any competition for this bully title. The most important Klassiker in a few years, I'd imagine, if Dortmund's form book is led to be believed. And to me, it kind of feels a little bit reminiscent of Arsenal's in that they were fortunate. They have been fortunate, at the start of this season to maybe escape with the 3 points on numerous occasions. But what do you think? Let us know who will win the Klassiker in the poll just above. We've gone poll mad this episode. Let's see how many attempts actually puts in.
We stay in the Bundesliga for our next losers, Werder Bremen. This comes from RYD98. What happened to them?
They were Werder bollocks.
Great.
That's the best.
He's been workshopping that.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Quality banter. Anyway, Werder missed the opportunity to go 1 point behind bully leaders Dortmund. They've been running really hot at the start of this season, following a 6-2 thrashing at the hands of visitors Bayer Leverkusen. Now, Leverkusen were actually hovering just above the relegation zone before this game, and it's only their 3rd win of what's been a bizarre Bundesliga season. It was a thoroughly deserved victory, though, as the scoreline kind of suggests. 18 shots on the night, from the visitors, with 12 coming on target. Seems pretty porous. And Werder, how are they hovering around the Champions League zones when they're conceding 12 shots on target? That's triple their average, Leverkusen's that is, for shots on target at the start of this season. Goal contributions were spread throughout the team as well, with 6 different players involved in at least 1 strike. And the away team were actually 3-0 up at half-time, already out of sight after 45, before Werder pegged 2 back. But it was a very short-lived comeback, spearheaded by a very old man who I respect.
Yeah, Claudio Pizarro managed to get on the score sheet. At 40 years and 25 days old, he became the 2nd oldest player to score in the Bundesliga. So for a moment, they had a bit of hope, and then hilariously, it was snatched away as Leverkusen went on to score 3 more in 10 minutes, ended with an XG of 3.1. But obviously, their finishing was spectacular. And the star of the show was probably 19-year-old Kai Havertz. Scored 2 from central midfield in this 3-4-3 formation, which allowed him to get forward. Completed a dribble, won 2 aerial duels, made 3 tackles and interceptions. All-round decent midfield display. And Bayer are now just 5 points behind the European places, while Werder hope to rectify this result against Mainz next week. We would expect that one will go up and one will go down, but we'll see.
And to round off the show then, we have a quick section on Jadon Sancho. And I tell you what's not quick, the podcast.
Hey.
All short, like us two. It's an hour, 31 minutes. Average view duration so far, 56. So the people are loving it. All right? Download it. Embrace it. Do it now, actually. Cut this section short. We're not saying anything new about Jadon Sancho here. Anyway, are we?
Not really. I mean, Carl Peters wanted us to put him in. The 18-year-old has been an inspired form since the start of the season. But this weekend, he got both of Dortmund's goals in a 2-2 draw with Hertha Berlin. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Like, okay.
It's genuine, you actually meant that.
Well, this is there's a thing here that I was thinking. Only 5 players born since the year 2000 have been involved in at least 1 goal in the top 5 leagues this season. Jadon Sancho has been involved in 10. The next one's Reece Nelson with 4. Both London boys, by the way. That's quite an exciting time for talent in London. Currently contributing to a goal every 45 minutes. 4 goals, 6 assists. Absolutely outrageous. Now, according to expected goals, he is running hot. You'd expect him to have something more like 2 goals and 2 assists. But even that would still be very, very good for a player of his age in a tough league in limited minutes. Of 13 games this season, he's only started 5 and completed 90 minutes just twice. So this is a guy who's only getting on the field, often in the last half hour, but whenever he does, he's making the difference. This time, managed to play most of the game. And again, he was the difference maker.
Yeah, he's the apple of Lucien Favre's eye at the start of this unbeaten season. Dortmund, of course, the only team to have that record at current. And according to XG, they're overperforming as a side, much like Jadon Sancho, which makes sense, with Paco Alcácer in particular running white hot in a similar fashion to Sancho. Apparently, he should have scored 2 owing to the chances that he's had, but he scored 7.
Nice.
So Jadon Sancho keeping good company there with Paco. There's been some good combination play and some good relationships forming at the start of the season, hasn't there, which is really promising for Dortmund, which hopefully will provide a little bit more longevity, a little bit more consistency. Hopefully we see these numbers plateau in a very positive way to run by into the very end of the season. Royce also contributing to 8 goals, and Hakimi, who's a right-back playing left-back on loan from Real Madrid, contributing to 4.
Well, actually, though, he's playing both sides. Like against Atletico the other day, he played both left back and right back and was incredible in both positions. Like Real Madrid have insane right back depth now. They go Carvajal, Odriozola, Hakimi.
Insane young defensive talent. Vallejo as well, who of course had a very good time of it in Germany. Suffered a bit of an injury at current, hasn't he? But so Hakimi's definitely one to keep your eye on too. Dortmund face Wolfsburg this weekend, so that will be a pretty testing tie. And then they face Atletico Madrid in that return leg at the, I was going to say Vicente Calderón, but it's not anymore,
the Wanda Metropolitano.
Pour one out for the Vicente Calderón. Anyway, they beat them 4-0 last week, so I'm guessing they won't do the same to Simeone's men at home. Otherwise, Simeone will kill someone with his bare hands. Shout out to Iago Aspas as well. He scored a hat-trick after spending the night in hospital where his daughter was born. He didn't just miraculously get over something and then go and play a full 90 minutes. So yeah, well done Iago for having another child.
Very productive weekend.
So that was your roundup for another week, guys. Get your suggestions in for who we should cover next week in the comments below, and look out for the tweet that goes live Sunday. What else are you enjoying at the minute on Football Daily, Van Straten?
Stat Wars, the league is flying right now. I believe that this week you'll be seeing me versus Dave Jackson and you versus Joe Tomlinson.
I will be spitting if I lose to that ginger little menace. I mean, only losing to you hurts more, but I've got pretty used to that. So, pathetic.
Yeah, anyway, check that out, and we'll see you next time.
If I lose to Jar, I'll be fuming.
I know you will. It'll be great.